Doesn't matter.
We're coming through on the internet airwaves here, right? I believe that's what the kids call it nowadays. I'm your host, Carlos Macias, of this here fine program, Salient Points, number 46 for November 16, 2021. Is that the correct? Yeah, it's about correct. It's myself. Please to go to wegotcoms.com and also check out YouTube and click subscribe, all that cool, fun stuff. And as per sometimes used with that 85% hit rate, Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains. Thank you for joining us, sir. Okay, you're not too worried about it.
It's Monday.
You got a little bit of case of the Mondays, right? And also, as per usual, I will give him the per usual. Luis is pretty good. I think he's like at a 98.9% hit rate. So thank you for joining us, sir. Mr. Wheels of Steel, Luis Mendez.
Yeah, coming at you from the information superhighway.
There we go. We're on the internet 2.0. Is it still 2.0? Say we're like 2.75. You know what it is? It's we had social media. Maybe we might have went back a couple numbers. We might have been like, you know what? We got to rethink this whole internet thing. You know who was not necessarily rethinking the whole internet thing, but they were actually celebrating was Xbox. Finally did their 20th anniversary celebration, which was kind of an online stream. They had a couple announcements, right? So their celebration of all things Xbox. But the biggest thing out of this thing, and I see someone on the rundown clicking around correcting my spelling for something. So Xbox, they came out and said they're adding 70 new backwards compatible games, which I thought it was like, okay, they'll add some more. It's like, no, this is the final backwards compatibility update. So this is all we're getting. And I think I saw someone on Twitter. I should put them down, but they said it's like, wait, so I should stop asking for Blue Dragon, right? So I'm sorry, Dalan. I doubt you will get Blue Dragon. You love RPGs. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked.
But I never even played Blue Dragon. I avoided that game like the plague.
Okay, so you don't
all
like...
All of a sudden, you don't like high fantasy then. Okay.
All of a sudden, you don't like RPGs. You don't like high fantasy. You don't like... it's the guy that did Dragon Ball Z. You don't like him either, I guess. And it's a Japanese RPG on an Xbox, Dalan.
You're talking about Akira Toriyama?
Yeah, he did the artistry in that game with that beautiful looking game, Blue Dragon. You don't even know. You know what? Whatever. All right. Anyways, so as part of the 70 new backwards compatible games, the final update, some of the ones that kind of stood out for me was Red Dead Revolver. So that's kind of interesting. The Otogi games, and I think there was a few other Sega games, Gungrave, and I don't know if they ever put Jet Grand Radios backwards compatibly or Crazy Taxi. So that'd be kind of nice. The one that I don't know if you guys ever played it, Dalan, and I hope you get around to it at some point, but 50 Cent Blood on the Sand was updated. That's basically it's a poor man's Gears of War. It's a poor man's Gears of War.
I saw that on the list. I was like, I remember that game actually being good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like Def Jam. You remember Def Jam?
Yeah, but look, it's one of those games where it's better than it deserves to be. I don't know if it's like actually... good, but it's 50 Cent. It's wacky. They're actually on a mission in the middle of the desert. They're looking for a skull or something. So, did anything kind of stand out to you guys, Luis, or did anything stand out on the list? Dalan, anything?
Not to me.
Anything stand out for you?
I did have a couple of things that stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I thought you were gonna let Luis go first, but that's fine.
He said no, Dalan.
He said no. For me, I have for the longest time wanted to play the Fear series because when it came out, it was like just PC. Eventually they started releasing the games, but I didn't have an Xbox at the time when they were re-releasing them. So now that I currently have an Xbox at my house, and now it's going to be on the PlayStation Network, on the Xbox Game
Breaking
Pass,
news.
I'm down to play them.
Well, that's a good transition because those are like the 37. That's part of the list, that 37 that got added more for FPS boost, meaning these games ran complete dog crap at 30 frames, right? We didn't know any better. I'm sorry, Luis.
We didn't know any better. Slow motion, it didn't matter.
Well, look, so the Fear series is part of the 37 that they added for FPS boost, which means like games that were 30 frames are 60, and I think the few that hit 60 are 120 frames. So they actually boost a lot of these games. There's a Fear series and Nier as well, right? I believe you were kind of interested in that one, Dalan.
Yeah, Nier. I'm actually interested as well in. A lot of people say it's a stupid game, but Oni Chambara, I keep seeing it and I keep wanting to play it. I'm going to try it.
Okay. Okay. Was that like a cheerleader game or something like that?
Bikini Samurai.
Okay, Dalan. Yeah. See, I knew it was something wacky, but you just got to believe in yourself, dude. I think that's like one of those games that came out where like during that time when it was okay to make those kind of games, and also like the guy game.
Chainsaw and stuff.
Hold on, though. Hold on though. It probably was like maybe I don't know. I like that game. I gotta play it to see how acceptable it is in 2021. But gameplay wise, and the fact that it was from Grasshopper Manufacturer, which also did Shadows of the Dam, I gotta respect them. I gotta respect the Mansuda. But maybe you might be right. But possibly like one of the bigger things that came out of the celebration was that the Halo Infinite multiplayer dropped today, which is yesterday, Monday. And I think, and it's basically, as far as I understand, it's kind of a full release or probably a soft release, right? That they'll be working towards the official launch in December. And they also said that the season for Halo Infinite multiplayer will go on till May 2022. Are we dipping into that? Luis, you dipping into some Halo Infinite multiplayer?
Yeah. Sure, why not?
Yes. Okay.
Sure,
I thought he was gonna say,
not?
he shook his head but said yes, why not?
Well, my problem is I still need to beat the other Halo games. In the meantime,
Dalan?
Yeah, I know. We can still do it. But one of the other games that showed up on that list that I'm more interested in because I feel more co-opable with it was Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. People didn't have a chance to really buy it or just didn't buy it at the time. And I still say we should play it together.
I still say no. But
why do you hate that game so much?
Because it was.
Why do you hate Resident Evil?
I just don't like trash, like I try to avoid it as much as possible, But look, Halo Infinite multiplayer is kind of a big deal for people. To me, it's sort of. I'm really more excited about the campaign, to be honest. But it's nice that the multiplayer is out there, and we should be getting updates and people, and it's free to play as well. So I believe it should be part of that Microsoft initiative or whatever it is that they were talking about. You don't need Game Pass, you don't need Xbox Live. You should be able to play that game free to play. But a couple other things. I know Phil Spencer, which is the Xbox boss, he did come out and said a few things specifically to Halo. He was talking about how last year they knew that they should have delayed Halo. He actually said, quote, "We should have known before and just been honest with ourselves." So he's kind of speaking to we should have known, we should have delayed this game. And it's I mean, this guy, I don't know if you guys have ever heard him speak, but Phil Spencer is one of the more like honest guys. He's a suit. He's a corporate guy, even though he doesn't wear a tie. I know you, Phil Spencer.
They were holding back all those numbers all that time, huh? Okay.
Now everything is fine, and we're gonna let everyone know. But so that's one of the things where Halo is finally upon us. It's coming out in about a couple weeks now. The campaign version of it. What do you guys think? At least, what do you think about him saying like we should have known and we delayed it?
I don't know. This. I mean, they probably thought that at the time, and they knew it, but they probably just decided to crunch or whatever. And now that there's this whole like new wave of anti-crunch culture is coming like in heavy, now he's starting to kind of apologize for it, maybe.
Yeah.
So
also kind of setting up the table to like it might not be completely finished when it comes out, and I will not give him the out. This thing, you delayed it a year, and it's like, no, if it's crap, it's crap. Don't. But that's the thing, right? Like how you were just saying, like people have come out in anti-crunch. It's like, I'll take an unfinished product if it means people didn't crunch. It's like, really? You'll take someone feeding you crap, like charging you $60 or the Game Pass, right, $15 a month, because it's still, I call it free, but it's not really free, right? You're paying a subscription fee for it, and you're like, sure, as long as people didn't crunch, give me whatever, give it to me in piecemeal, I don't care. But Dalan, what are your thoughts on this, man? That this guy's basically like, we kind of knew.
Well, at least he had it in mind. I'm not really sure what else he could have done at the time that he even brought it up in his own mind. So I'm fine with the way things rolled out for him. So.
Yeah. No, and like, look, at the very least, it kind of shows that they're got some introspection. And it's like, this is how we're gonna roll things out, right? I know another thing, and we were just talking about Game Pass, and he talked a little bit more about Game Pass, and he said, quote unquote, "I know there's a lot of people that like to write, we're burning cash right now for some future pot of gold at the end. No, Game Pass is very, very sustainable right now as it sits and it continues to grow." And I think this is part of like some of the speculation or some of the things that people kind of they do napkin math, like they're like, wait a minute, to fully make money on Game Pass, they gotta da. So he's kind of putting that to rest, right? He's kind of saying like, we're profitable, we're good, don't worry about it. And I know you have stuff like they recently said that they had 20 million on the service, and then people are pushing the limits of this stuff, 6.5 million on Forza Horizon 5, and then with Halo Infinite, I think they were saying like they had the most concurrent players of anything on there, even though that's kind of free to play, right? But Game Pass should be pushing into that. Did you guys ever care about that? Dalan, I'll go with you. Do you care like if Game Pass is sustainable or not, or you're like, you know what, just give me the games here?
Well, it's a little bit of both. And I actually think they did something smart here in regards to making the Game Pass $15 a month versus having them have a whole like yearly subscription, because that's millions of players paying $15 a month. And even if they paid out, what would you say, $6 million or something like that for the game? They could pay out.
No, I said
was...
no. I said as far as like how many players are on, like Forza.
Yeah,
there's 6 million players.
Yeah, but my point. Well, you also brought up the fact that it was quote unquote free, and obviously that's free with an asterisk.
No, I said I don't. I say that it's free, but I know that that's not the case. You're paying a subscription, whatever the case.
Yeah, you're paying that subscription. I honestly think that the subscription makes up for all the free stuff that they give us.
Yeah, well,
the way that they have it priced, I think it makes up for all of it, and on top of that, it is actually worth it.
Well, and they're always trying to suck us into subscriptions. That's really what all these companies want to get us to. And I think some of the thinking comes from Netflix, because Netflix hasn't necessarily been profitable for years, you know, because they just keep funding things, but it's like 11, 12, 13 bucks a month, right? So, and they're paying out millions and millions of dollars in content. So I think people assume that the model is the same, and even games are maybe even more expensive to produce, right? But at the same time, it's like, you know, 20 million people, 15 bucks a month. They're paying a little bit more on average. So, and they're playing a different game, right? They're selling consoles, and they're kind of selling you on an ecosystem, something that just has a little bit more stickiness to it than maybe Netflix does. So I think people assume it's like Game Pass equals Netflix. So maybe that's why they've made these assumptions. Luis, what are your thoughts on it, man? Did you ever really care if it's sustainable or not, or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that I did or didn't care. I mean, that's obviously something that I'm intrigued by in some capacity, but ultimately, they're the ones that have these numbers and information in front of them, and they know, or at least seem to know what to do with that information, right? So, I mean, they have been buying exclusives and studios here and there and whatever, and for what it seems like, the $15 price tag is still sustainable with that sort of acquisition growth that they're going for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would hope that for them it is a little bit of both, right? Short term and long term. The more of these titles keep dropping day one, hopefully in some timeline in the future, you can actually buy these consoles, because I'm sure that's ultimately what their plan is, right? You buy Game Pass because.
Yeah, which we do have one of our friends, Samir. I'll give him a shout out, but he's talking about he wants to sell his PlayStation because he sees like Game Pass. Like, really, I want an Xbox because of Game Pass. Is like, yeah, dude, the greatest deal in gaming, of course. And also, they're playing another game where Game Pass works on your phone too. There's a lot of games that actually work on your phone through xCloud, right? So even it's not the greatest experience, let's be honest. But some people are willing to kind of be able to play in that.
In a
arena,
pinch, at an airport,
right? At an airport, whatever the case is. But it's also, you know what? One of the things, and I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We also can't be assuming that these guys are always completely truthful to us. It might not even be, it might not be sustainable. But he's like, you know what? Don't worry about that. You guys just play, just connect, just jump in.
All of a sudden, you don't believe him.
I'm not saying I don't believe him. What I'm saying is we can't assume these guys are always telling us the truth.
Or they might just be bending words, right?
Yes. What is sustainable? What is sustainable? Really?
That's the people of No Man's Sky. I understand that's a different concept, but they flat out lie.
That's completely off the rails, Dalan, but I do appreciate it. So we'll move on to
That's what I was thinking about when you said it.
So the other thing, and the reason I say is because this next little hot one that he dropped is he basically said that Elder Scrolls 6 is an Xbox exclusive, and he said that that it's gonna be an exclusive, and it isn't about punishing PlayStation. And to me, I'm like, so what if you are? I don't understand. What do you pay billions of dollars for a company? You guys are in competition, right? So you are punishing places, whatever. It's not even, I think, there's a little nuance to it, right? He's obviously saying it's our business and we're doing it because it's right for us, whatever, right? That's not his exact quote, but I can assume that's his logic behind it. But at the same time, like, so what? So what if you're punishing places? That's your competition over there. Any thoughts on that one, Dalan? The fact that Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive is not to punish PlayStation.
Now, whether it's to punish PlayStation or not, is not my concern here. My concern is that when Bethesda was acquired by Xbox, the first question that came up was, are all these Elder Scrolls series games and Fallout games, are they all gonna suddenly become Xbox exclusives? And their first response was no. They're still going to come out on other systems,
I think
but they're still doing it.
they were. I think they were non-committal.
No, they were bending the truth.
Yeah,
the words
exactly.
there. That's what we were talking about.
You can't assume these guys are like, at least not necessarily outright lying.
They said it'll
but
be
bending.
available on all platforms that
Yeah.
support Xbox Game Pass or something like that.
Yeah, they were being kind of wacky with the wording, but. Dude, you don't spend $1 billion, like $6 billion or $7 billion to not make it exclusive. But I mean, they did have contracts in place already, like Deathloop. That was part of their Bethesda group, right? You know, it's the most arcane ass game. You know, Arcane, I'm done with you guys. I'm sorry. You know, they got a next
I don't
game.
know why you even
the
tried.
most arcane game that you ever
know, but I gave it a shot. Maybe I even gave it a longer shot than necessary. Anyway, the moral of the story here is that they did buy out BioWare, Bethesda. They bought Bethesda, and Deathloop was already like it's gonna come out on PlayStation. I believe it was a PlayStation exclusive, even, right? And Microsoft has said we're gonna honor that. And Minecraft, they haven't taken Minecraft away. That's also, they bought out Minecraft, and there's other games that have come out for other systems, but. I mean, Elder Scrolls 6, that's like, why wouldn't you make it an exclusive, man? It's Xbox versus PlayStation and everyone else. Luis, to close that out, man, anything about the punishing PlayStation or not?
Yeah,
punishing?
that just so happens to be a byproduct of that decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a business and you paid 6-7, is it Millie or Billy?
Billy's.
Billy.
Billy's.
Billy's.
Then you're within your full right, as far as I'm concerned, to make that sucker exclusive.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was thinking about it while reading this. I don't, within what, 10, 15 years, I don't think there's been a title that's released that anyone has necessarily been surprised by being exclusive. Like this one, to me, even though I was expecting it, is like a big kind of shock to the gaming ecosystem or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have those titles that we expect to be exclusive. The Insomniac games, the Naughty Dog games, the Halo, and all that stuff.
Like
so
Gears
this
of
one
War,
coming
you
out,
expect
and
to see Gears of War on Xbox.
But
right.
and it's
I
always
was thrown off when they decided to take Kingdom Hearts, which was an exclusive Sony product, and they put that on Xbox.
Yeah.
That's when we start.
there's
out.
there's little moments where it's a little odd, right? Like Insomniac, but Insomniac, the thing is with them, they've always been second party, but they've just been so tied into with Sony, right? But like they did Sunset Overdrive at one point, that was an
Right.
Xbox exclusive, and people were like, "What?" But it wasn't that weird because it was a new IP, right? So people were like, and it kind of did not sell that way. It didn't do too well, as far as I understand, right? So this one, I think, is because this one's been so tied into PlayStation. It's come out on Xbox, right? But I think it's been tied to Elder Scrolls series, and you have the PlayStation VR version of it and all that. And I think mainly on this one is the fact that it's not also coming to PlayStation, right? Because it has been on Xbox. But
Yeah.
like you're just saying, like, it's like, dude, you don't spend billions of dollars and like but it's and it's on Game Pass. They want you to get on Game Pass, so $15 a month, you get it for free, quote unquote, and a little bit of asterisks there. So the next story on here, a little bit more sales talk. So we do have some numbers for Call of Duties, and apparently, I don't know, maybe the king is dead, or maybe it's we don't like World War II anymore. We've seen it enough. But as far as UK sales are concerned, Call of Duty Vanguard sales are 40% lower when compared to last year's, I call it COD Blops Cold War. So Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. It's the worst launch in 14 years. And we did kind of sort of mention it last week on the podcast, right? Where we're like, you guys know Vanguard just dropped 2 days ago, right? And we're like, oh, damn, it did. Is this, at least I'll go with you first, man. Is this kind of shocking, or, the hype really wasn't?
Seeing a number that low is pretty shocking, yeah. I mean, by Call of Duty standards, they probably still made a crap ton of money, but probably not as much as they were expecting, right?
Yeah.
I think what ended up happening, myself included, was when COD Blops Cold War came out, there were a lot of people that were sort of, I don't know if it's necessarily felt lied to or anything, but when they played it, they were just like, this game isn't fun. Like the multiplayer, I loved the campaign, but maybe that's more what it was, that people, and I'm sure they still sold a lot of that, but
Yeah.
maybe people are a little more hesitant because they felt kind of burned by
Possibly.
blocks.
Yeah.
That they're like, let me see what it's like. I'll watch a few streamers, read some reviews, and then I'll buy it versus just getting it day one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And the
that
hype
is pretty shocking.
and the hype machine really wasn't that revved up about it either, right? Like the media wasn't too hyped about it. The reviews came out, they were a little lukewarm about it. I think it's still in the 70s, which is pretty okay, decent, but it's
Yeah.
not in the 80s or 90s, and so I think that's part of it. The hype wasn't built up to it, but sometimes the media doesn't necessarily know, right? Like some things just blow up. Among Us, for example, or Fortnite, it just blows up, so the media is not necessarily on top of it. But I think this was a combination of both, and I think it's like what you were saying. It's like we played Cold War, and no. Also, didn't you guys make World War II just 2 days ago? So I don't think maybe there's some fatigue there as well, as far as like, dude,
That
we've
was gonna
seen.
be my statement.
Dalan, go ahead if you want to play on that. Then, but maybe so you think some of it is World War II fatigue? We're just done.
No, not World War II fatigue.
Yeah.
COD fatigue. Because they
okay.
like to just crap out games back to back every year.
But they've been doing this though, so what's different this time? I guess
that's the problem is that they've been doing it for so long. It's like there's nothing new, and we haven't progressed that far in technology compared to the previous titles as they continue to come out. I mean, a good example, and I'm just going to compare it to it, is Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed was a great thing when it came out. And then they had a whole series and slew of games a year after year where they had Assassin's Creed games come out. But then Unity and Rogue and like 4 other Assassin's Creed games came out at the same time. And everybody was like, this is all the same stuff. I don't want this. So they actually had to take a step back for like 3 years and revamp their system. I believe COD needs to do the same thing. The people of Battlefield, they even took a step back, and even though they were still putting content in their Battlefield games, they still took time before launching their next Battlefield game, which in this case would be
I think that, look, this thing has been annual since 2003, so 2003 is more than 14 years ago. So they obviously along the way they had a game that didn't do too well. So I think this is one of those things that they go back to the drawing board a little bit. It's like, okay, how do we roll it out? I think it's a matter of how do you roll it out. It can't be World War II anymore. We've done it like 3 times already, or 4 or 5.
Didn't they do like Advance Wars or whatever it was?
Yeah, but so I think what it is they need to go back and be like, okay, what really matters and how do we roll it out? So I'm sorry to say, Dalan, we're gonna keep seeing it. This thing's too big of a monster, dude. This thing's too big of a monster.
We're gonna keep seeing it. Yeah, there's no question about that. But I still think they need to revamp part of it.
They have to figure something out, and I think this was definitely Cold War was probably like B team on this thing on Cold War. This is probably like C minus team probably working on World War II. But we'll see next year, man. I think, like I said, it's a matter of rollout and a matter of getting people hyped up. Look, even I was kind of looking forward to because it's a blockbuster game, but now I'm like, I'll wait till it's like $30 or something, or I GameFly it at some point. But yeah, it's a little surprising. It's a little surprising.
Inflation does not help.
I don't know, maybe that's possible, right? All right, then. So we'll move on here. We were just talking about some shortages here, Dalan. What's your big story for the past week?
Well, my big story. Well, I guess we can call it my big story, but it's really everybody's
It says it right.
Story.
It says it right there, Dalan. Big story to me.
Yeah, I know. To me, all right. But well, all right. The first part of it, not so much mine, but Sony reportedly is cutting PS5 production by 1 million units due to a chip shortage. And we know that this chip shortage has been going on for some time. And I believe they even reported that it's probably going to go deep into 2022. So that's
2023 might have been like the last thing, I think, but it's far out. It's far out. Yeah.
It's going to be a while before we start getting regular productions of the system again. And Sony just recently decided to do a holiday lottery for anybody who actually signs in directly to their website and registering your PlayStation ID. So I actually went and I signed up because I want to buy a PS5. I know I have one, but I have people that want one. So if I could actually be a part of that lottery, I'm going to help some people out. Prue, I'm going to shout out to you because you like to scout people. So stop it.
He says reselling, Dalan. Episode 0 of Salient Points.
Reselling.
It's a reseller.
He's a reseller. Scalping. All right. So if you go to the website, you can sign up and put yourself on the list, and they would email you kind of like, what was it, Newegg Shuffle? Just like Newegg Shuffle. You can do essentially the same thing, but you're going to be on a longer list. And I'm hoping they actually email me back because I'd love to buy a PS5, especially with this whole chip shortage and a million less units in production right in the middle of the holiday season.
It's affecting a lot. Even real quick, I added as a quick little add on to your story, Dalan.
I was gonna jump on it.
Is the Steam Deck also got pushed to February 22nd, and that thing was already kind of like staggered releases. They were doing like the Apple way of doing things, where like, okay, you put your order in. We'll see when it gets to you. Well, if you might be part of the day one, tier one, but even tier ones, even the very first people to get it's February 22nd. And they said due to quote unquote material shortages, but I'm pretty sure chips strike again. Just a real quick note on yours, Dan, we'll get to Luis on his thoughts on this, but Hotstock, the app Hotstock is pretty good. That's how I got my Xbox Series X. It gives you notifications, so make sure to click immediately. I had to try like 5 or 6 times, man. Make sure you have your card info and all that stuff. So we're just trying to help people out, right?
I actually reopened my Hotstock just so I could do that, and getting no notifications. Still can't find an Xbox Series. Was it Xbox Series X? That's the one that has the disc drive, right? You still can't find those. I can find an S. I can find an Xbox Series S for whatever reason. I don't know why that's the case.
Does that have a hard drive?
No. Well, you mean does it have a disc drive?
It's a test, Dalan. It's a test. But you didn't say disc drive. You said hard drive.
No,
we can roll back the tape, but anyways, continue, Dan, and then we'll get to Luis real quick.
It doesn't. The S doesn't have a disc drive, and I want the X, so I gotta have that disc drive. Because as we've talked about in our previous episode, I don't know if I want to go all digital with everything.
Now, Dalan, I have the Xbox Series X with the disc drive. Ask me how many times I put in a disc in there.
Once, maybe
0 times. I put a disc in there 0 times. Dude, Game Pass, best deal in gaming, dude. Like, why would I ever put a disc in there? Luis, any thoughts on the shortages, man, real quick, and then we'll get to your...
Everybody's suffering. I ordered an M1 MacBook Pro like 2 days after it got announced, not getting here until like another week and a half. So
people were actually out there putting pre-orders for the PS5 on Target. And it actually worked because they did it like 6 months ago. And then they got to this point, said, all right, it's available. Come pick it up. And then by the time they get there, they had given their PlayStation away to somebody else who had pre-ordered it because they were short on their numbers. Man, Target's got to get their organization.
And you guys weren't into the Steam Deck, right? Luis, you kind of were caring about that? Okay. So we'll see. I mean, Steam Deck users, I'm sorry. I don't know if that thing's a little too big, dude. I already feel like the Switch... I take a backpack to work, and I feel like it's a little heavy when I throw in the Switch in there. I've been throwing the PSP in there.
You're out there trekking to work with a whole backpack.
The PSP for the games you might have copied the floppy for, Dalan, for me. You know, I might be playing that. Luis,
hey, don't put me in
Luis,
that
so what's your big story of the week, man? We can move on.
So GTA Trilogy used assets from GTA 5. There was an interview with producer Rich Rosado at USA Today. I wasn't able to figure out if he was at Rockstar or Grove Street Studios because they worked with Grove Street to make this game. And he said, quote, "There was a great variety of GTA 5 trees that could cover all 3 of our titles here. The result was very pleasing. It made everything feel more dense and full. The same is true for a lot of the surrounding areas like barbershops where we also lifted assets. If we need a new refrigerator, why make a new one when we have a perfectly good one right there? It was done in a way that, hopefully, unless I told you that was a refrigerator from GTA 5, you wouldn't even notice because it just blends into the background," end quote. So yeah, they used the specific assets and locations he mentioned were barbershops, trees, and refrigerators. I'm sure there were plentiful across the board.
Mailboxes.
But what do you guys think about this? Because I know this is a hot topic when it comes up, especially on Twitter, where people think devs are kind of cutting corners or they're lazy. Or
the last one was like for God of War, right? Like, did they show the trailer for Ragnarok and they're like, you guys use the same docking animation as in God of War 2018. For me personally, I don't mind it, actually, especially like one of these things, like if you're bringing back, which, you know, people they've been bringing up games and remastering or whatever, why not use like the latest version of that and kind of throw it into here, like they're saying, for density purposes and the like. I don't mind it too much. I guess I mind it when the game is built on that idea, like roguelikes, for example. I'm sure you guys have heard me rant on roguelikes. That it bothers me, but that's even more like on a mechanics, like gameplay, like the way the gameplay plays out, not necessarily assets. Because Honestly, I actually think about it a lot, man. And actually, I think that's why I hit trophies so much, because I understand that some developers, and I know you've worked on some stuff, Luis, that I'm sure you're like, 90% of players will never see this. But we're working on it, but it's in there, So the fact that it's like, okay, they, instead of spending time on making brand new bespoke assets for everything, it's just like, okay, we just kind of shuffled them around and we're focused on the gameplay. So to me, it doesn't necessarily bother me, I guess. Dalan, does it bother you, I suppose?
Hey man, there's only so many ways you can make the front door of a building look.
Okay.
So it's one of those things that, as long as it's not egregiously noticeable, I'm fine with it. You could reuse assets because a lot of people have a lot of the same things. I mean, the same thing goes with trees. Trees generally look alike when you're driving past them at 120 miles an hour. I don't really care that much about what the tree looks like, as long as I don't hit the tree. Yeah. Or as long as it's not a part of a special quest. If it was a part of like a special quest, yeah, give me a special tree. But other than that, you can have some generic ass shit in the game. Excuse my French in this case, but putting generic assets in it and reusing those generic assets should never be a problem.
Yeah, I think it's just like you were saying, though. As long as it's like not repetitive and not like, dude, you guys, what is this? I'm looking at the same thing over and over. So as long as it's kind of mixed up, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's really more about the mechanics and the gameplay and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Don't have me looking down the same gray hallway every time I turn.
But what about you on maybe the developer side or even on the gamer side, Luis? What about you?
No, this is perfectly normal behavior, I guess. Like going back to the God of War thing you mentioned, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I remember reading a dev's reply to someone complaining about it, and he said, "I personally witnessed my friend and coworker work on this animation for like 6 months to a year." I forgot the exact number.
He said and I saw them suffer for it, or like they worked so hard on it, right? To do that.
So it's like, if it's working and it's fine, why rebuild that system or why recreate an asset if you can make it fit into the Vice City aesthetic or whatever, right? And a bunch of devs have done this. I mean, even the developer that a lot of people hold in high regard, like Naughty Dog, has been using assets over and over from like back in Uncharted 2 or 3 that like even made it into The Last of Us too.
Yeah.
So it's completely normal, but people for whatever reason like to call out developers for being lazy or something. So
yeah,
I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's also like the lazy thing is, it could have been decisions made. It's not necessarily lazy or we need to hit deadlines. It's not,
True.
And you over here you're worried about people crunching, so you can't call them lazy and also blaming for crunching too much. So it's like it's a little bit of nuance there. But yeah, so we'll move on into quick hits on a related note, Luis, is the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition was offline on PC for about 3 days, I believe, and I believe this affected you specifically, right, Luis? Because you had the PC version of it. And originally they took it down off of the launcher, the Rockstar launcher, because it quote unquote had quote unquote unintentionally included files. Some people were saying it contained the hot coffee sex code, which you guys remember that goes back to San Andreas, right? That there was a whole thing.
What is that?
We'll get to it, Dalan. So it was the hot coffee thing, and I think supposedly some of the cut songs were still in there. Now this one I'm interested in, Lisa, and maybe you can explain to Dalan the hot coffee thing as well. But the Holy Grail dev notes, quote unquote Holy Grail. Does that mean anything, Lisa? Holy Grail?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay, I thought you were gonna tell me about this. The hot coffee thing, that Luis, as brief, I guess, as you can kind of remember what it was, or so.
I personally never did it. I found out about this years after I moved on from the game. I think it was like on YouTube or something. I saw a video, but basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could essentially, there were like those missions where you could go out like with your girlfriend and take her out on a date. If you put in a cheat code or did a specific thing or combination of things, you could then enter the room when like they're like, hey, come on in and grab a coffee, right? And it was like a mini game where you would essentially engage in some sort of, illicit activities or sexually charged activities.
Explicit mini game, I suppose. They put in God of War before God of War into here. I don't know if you remember those little mini games in God of War, Dalan. But yeah, it was one of those things that it was unintentional. It wasn't supposed to be in there. So Rockstar, the thing is, this was an era where you couldn't necessarily push out an update that easily, right? At least from what I remember.
Couldn't.
They actually had to we have to re-release this game. So there's actually copies that had the code, and then there's copies that went out after the fact that they like took out, specifically went in there and was like, this is not available in this game. So apparently that's back in there. So it's kind of like, where are they pulling this code from is kind of the interesting thing, right? How far back are they going that they're going to pre-lawsuits? Because I think there was like lawsuits. They might have been even like a class
like 20
action.
mil.
Yeah, like a 20 million class action lawsuit, because of course they're causing the depravity of the youth and whatnot, right? Yes,
M-rated game.
It's an M-rated, even though it is an M-rated game, but it was going too far, I suppose. But on that, or the fact that you weren't able to play it, Luis, or any more thoughts, man, before we kind of move on from this one?
Yeah. So from my understanding, it was specifically the Rockstar game launcher, not necessarily a PC issue. I think you can buy this on the Epic Game Store, and I think you could buy this on Steam, but it might actually still need to be launched through the Rockstar launcher. So
Okay.
you could buy it and download it from the other guys, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to launch the game anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
I ended
so
up looking it up, so I'm gonna have to put my input in this after you're
Oh,
done.
okay, good job, Dalan.
okay.
But to me, I think Luis is it has to be like the actual file, the actual game, though, right? Because the launcher came back and the game still wasn't up. The GTA Trilogy wasn't
Because
up.
they took it down for these reasons.
Yeah.
It had music that was no longer licensed, and it had this hot coffee thing that they just didn't want in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought, because you needed the launcher to verify that the game can launch. They basically took down the launcher so nobody could buy the game. They brought the launcher back up once they took the game off the store, and then they left the game unplayable and sort of removed it from like your games list until they updated it for you.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just them sort of, I guess, in a sort of stepped motion going through the most, because this actually took down GTA 5 Online and Red Dead Online because they just took the launcher down.
They're just like,
So-
you will play nothing because of this.
Yeah.
Because of this thing we kind of slapped together.
But yeah, I got charged. I should have known when I first paid for the game, put in my card information, got the charge, and then it went through, but it didn't show that I purchased the game on the launcher, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I'll try it again. I bought it, the game showed up on my library, and then I went to go download them. I, for whatever reason, closed the launcher, came back, and I couldn't play them. The launcher wasn't signing me up.
Very reasonable for games from 2001. One of them, 2001, 2004, 2005.
One of them.
3 or
Actually,
4. Okay,
this
Dylan.
the extra piece that I ended up looking up might actually explain partially why that's happening.
But concisely, Dylan, please.
Concisely, being that the way that they actually got all this stuff out of the game is just by turning off the scripts. So all the stuff is still in the file, but they just turned off the scripting that allowed those things to work. They did actually remove certain songs like the Michael Jackson music, but the rest of it, like the codes that shouldn't be actually there anymore, they just disabled it. That's all they did, was they changed the code in order to disable it. So data miners went in and actually found all the original coding along with the original notes from the Rockstar North staff from the time when they were actually building the game. The notes were still in the scripts. That's what they were calling the holy grail of notes, or dev notes for the fans. But that disconnect of all the scripting, when they went in, they found a way to actually re-enable that crap.
I mean, dude, you put a game out there, it's on PC. They're gonna dip their head in there.
You leave the code there. Somebody's just gonna, flip the switch back on.
So the next one we have on here also, this one might be interesting to us, and we got to get back to this game. But Outriders is finally a game. They said it wasn't like an MMO style game or nothing. They actually said they're gonna have an update. It's coming November 16. It's called New Horizon, New Missions, and Transmog. Maybe you can help me with that, Dalan, what that is. But they did say that an expansion is coming in 2022. That one's called World Slayers, expansion in 2022, and we'll get that update. What are these transmogs? Are you hyped about like an update? New missions are cool, but what was this transmog here?
I have no idea what the heck a transmog.
Oh man, okay, yeah, I thought you cared about the lore, but anyways, we get new transmog as well. What are you hyped about it? You hyped about it?
Yeah, man, I'm glad that they actually put some DLC for it, because the word you were looking for earlier is, yes, It's a type of MMO, but it wasn't a live service game.
Okay, live service. Because I
So
was like, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure I said MMO, but yeah, live
yeah. So
service.
it's not a live service game. So they weren't continuously updating it over and over again. In this case, it was just a base game you can play online, and now they're adding some DLC to it, which I believe when they first launched it, they said that there wasn't going to need to be DLC. But I guess the game did good enough. They were like, you know what? Let's do
Give
it
them some more.
anyway.
Let's give them some more. But we're definitely having like a backlog of co-op games, right? It's this Back for Blood, and then we have a little bit of Back for Blood to talk about right now too.
Halo.
Halo, there's quite a bit of backlog, even just on a co-op angle. And then I have my own like games that I'm playing single player wise. So no wonder people didn't buy Call of Duty Vanguard, dude. We got all this crap to play. The next thing here is a Quantic Dream Star Wars game is apparently gonna be in the High Republic era. Do not know what that means. Elise, do you know what that means? Does that make you more hyped or less hyped or what? That it's in the
It doesn't make me more or less hyped. I just like
Neutral.
hearing that this is still going on. Because last we heard, they're like, it might be a Star Wars game or they're working on it,
Yeah.
and then just like silence.
Yeah.
So these are the types of like trailers, teasers that I like just hearing information without giving much away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the Quantic Dream's probably still getting sued or whatever for.
They're in the middle of some crap, right? They're in the middle
Yeah,
of some
but I'm
crap.
glad that they're still progressing in some form on this.
Now, are you happy that they're working on a Star Wars game, or would you rather have like them do originals? You know, like how they done Detroit and Heavy Rain, and which they kind of fit a certain mold anyway. So you kind of assume that the
Yeah,
Star
I'm pretty
Wars
sure
game.
they'll make a Star Wars game that fits that sort of narrative or mold anyway. So in that sense, I'm interested to see what they do with it, right?
Yeah. In both directions, right?
yeah.
As far as what they do with Star Wars and how they tie it into this narrative kind of scheme that
Yeah.
they have or whatever. Dalan, do you know about the lore, Dalan? What is the High Republic era? What was that? What are we dealing with here?
Well, there's the Old Republic, then the New Republic, then the High Republic. It's just a future era.
Okay, why don't they say Future Republic then?
It's Star Wars.
Okay.
Why don't they
solves
say
it.
future fantasy?
Yeah, why don't they say Future Fantasy? All right, well that solved it. Thank you.
Don't
Dalan.
hurt yourself.
Thank you for giving us some of that lore. Like we were saying, a couple details on Back for Blood. Apparently, that game, as far as the developers concerned, is that it was quote far more difficult than intended. That's a quote, and they're working on getting the difficult just right. Do you agree with that? Is it that hard? Well, we played a 4-player co-op, so it doesn't seem.
We were dying left and right.
Yes.
You had to have one person
Yes.
huddled in a corner with their back against the wall,
Yes.
hoping to God that they wouldn't die.
Now that's true, Dalan. But we were also probably under the influence, and we're keeping it wacky. If we actually, when the moments we actually focused, it didn't seem too incredibly hard. Or you do feel like it's a little too hard, even then?
No, there are plenty of moments where it's not too hard, but then there are the parts where it's actually hard, where when you're supposed to defend a spot from like waves of hordes of zombies. That's the only time that the game is hard. Other than that, the game's difficulty is just fine, and that's probably why they didn't catch it. Is because they were focused on more of the travel co-oping versus the staying still co-op trying to kill these things, because they send some really big things after you really fast, and everybody's on the floor in less than 2 minutes.
And that's kind of like my least favorite aspects of the game too. It's basically tower defense at that point, right? And the only tower defense, I don't know if I've mentioned it, I probably have. The only tower defense I ever liked was Plants vs Zombies. Everything else, Sunset Overdrive was fun until the tower defense moments, and I was like, I am out, uninstall. Where can I throw away this disc now? But I think that's where it's least fun. But when you're playing with friends, it's kind of okay. But I think those are definitely the least fun moments in Back for Blood for me, when they basically say
that is
tower
the
defense
least
time.
fun moments.
Yeah.
You just got to survive, and everything's getting thrown at you, and you run out of resources. It doesn't matter how many bullets you have; they're coming at you from every direction, and you're getting knocked down. You don't even know where you're getting hit from half the time now.
Even though some of it is a little wacky and kind of nice. There was one tower defense one where the tower is a jukebox and it's playing like a licensed song. Do you remember what the song was, Dalan?
No, I don't remember.
But it's kind of like a rock and roll classic type of song or whatever. And we're like, you have to fix a jukebox to get the zombies to come. So even in that sense, it's good. But yeah, I guess I'm a little surprised that it's too difficult. But like if we're playing a single player, which we will be able to find out soon enough, right, with the solo offline progression
Save
update,
your progress.
yeah, that's when I'll probably be like, this thing is way too hard. But since we're keeping it wacky, full squad, it doesn't seem that much. But it's good that they're taking that feedback, right? The next thing on here, you guys know how much I love Metroid. I'm actually playing through the 2D Metroids. I'm almost to Dread. I am almost to Dread. Weeks later, MPD said that quote, Metroid Dread achieved the highest launch month sales of any Metroid franchise release in tracked history. Launch month physical dollar sales nearly doubled those of the previous best, Metroid Prime. And we did get some numbers. It was at 854,000 copies in the US. Interesting to note on MPD, they only track physical copies, and they did say it in their statement. But digitally, I don't know how much, because to me, I want physical, but I'm sure people will download it, right? So I'm sure this thing's over 1 million, I would assume. I would think that's safe to assume, including digital. But I like it, man. That means more Metroid. I love the 2D ones. I've been enjoying those, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in a little bit. And Metroid Prime was definitely my favorite one. So maybe I hope this also bodes well for when Metroid 4 finally drops in 2029, that they'll make another one after that. And maybe they'll be quicker about it. But your thoughts on this, Lisa, that it's selling pretty damn well, apparently?
Yeah, that's to be expected, I guess. But like this was the first month, it says, right? Yeah, so yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, hopefully that, like you're saying, speeds up, but we get it before 2099 or whatever the next one will be.
Before the next
I'm surprised
Switch,
they got
apparently.
this high of a number, because I didn't buy it yet. And you didn't buy it yet.
No. I did buy it.
He bought it. He just has some.
I bought it day one, actually. Walmart had a little $10 off, and apparently they do that to a lot of games. If you guys are, they do $10 off on launch day. But I was
trying to sell a PS5 for $1,000. I'm not going to.
Oh no, they're wacky. No. I'm not defending them on that. I'm talking about like a single release. But Luis, please to continue with your thought.
I guess I'll add on, give a little shout out to Jonathan Macias, one of our avid listeners here. I was playing with him online,
all the time,
and he said, quote unquote, oh yeah, that's true. He said, loosely, quote unquote, that he had just finished beating Metroid, the new Metroid, and he said, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if it won Game of the Year, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. And I was like, okay.
Okay, that's a proper statement. I like it. I will be playing it soon. I'm on Metroid Fusion, so in the last couple of weeks, I've played through all the remake as I could play them versions of these Metroid games. So I'm almost there, Dread. Dalan, your thoughts on the fact that this thing sold pretty damn well? What were your thoughts on this?
With the way that video games have actually like pretty much taken over the media industry, I'm not surprised about this. And it's been years since we've actually had a good Metroid game made, and nowadays everybody's looking for nostalgia and good remakes. And this was a good compromise. It's not a remake, but it's going back to old form, and it's Metroid. So
yeah, I mean, in a way, I guess you could say it's surprise. I don't think it's surprising that it's a good Metroid game. I think
correct. It's not
I think the Metroid games have had a higher track record than you being on the podcast. I feel like 90% of the Metroid games have been good. We've had ones that are not great.
Oh no! We're not gonna roll over that.
Hey, for Metroid,
I missed 2 episodes out of 46.
Okay, 87%, but 90% of the Metroid games have been pretty good. Other M wasn't so great. Federation Force was one of the most disliked videos before Nintendo Online Switch expansion pack or whatever. But yeah, I think, and even so, I mean, at 854,000, we're talking about this is why it's still not the biggest thing for Nintendo. I mean, a Mario game would have sold 2, 3, 4 million copies. Smash Brothers would have been at 5 or 6 million. So, but the fact that they're pretty happy about it, and I think Nintendo themselves put this number out, the copies and all that. So they're pretty happy about it, and I hope it stops being the redheaded stepchild, because it probably is my favorite series out of all of them, versus Mario and versus Zelda. But if they're happy, that means we should be happy, right? They'll make sure that Metroid Prime 4 comes out before the next Switch in 2099, before the century is out. We'll move on to what you've been playing. Luis, what you been playing, man? What you been
Well,
getting
first
going
of all, I have not been playing the GTA trilogy because I couldn't until apparently yesterday at some point.
Wow.
I'll get to that.
Wow.
But I passed the time by playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, trying to get through that. And a shout out callback to your Target thing. They did have a buy two, get one free.
Okay.
So I got one that you guys might not be so excited about, but for the people that can't see on the video, this is NBA 2K22.
It's like blurring it out because
And
of your auto blurring.
finally,
thing or what?
got Final Fantasy out here.
Okay.
7, Intergrade, the fake word game.
Hey,
Nice.
man, your
And,
little blur effect, I can't see
Sackboy,
a
a big
thing that
adventure.
was
That's
happening
fine.
there.
You can figure it out. There's Sackboy right there. Look.
Hey, Sockboy is nice and focused though. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Sackboy himself, the title is not.
Blame
Sackboy
Discord.
himself
It's not
is
my
not
fault.
That is co-opable, at least online co-op, the Sackboy game. So maybe.
And it is indeed the PS5 version, not the PS4 version.
Very confusing. One of the We.com's articles, if you guys search it up, you can see how you can tell the difference between a PS4 and PS5 version of a game. What have you been playing? So you had picked up a good
Odyssey.
couple games, but
These are all
Odyssey.
still sealed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how you feeling about Odyssey? Are you close to kind of being done with it? or
I
you
don't
still-
think so, man. I'm like probably 45% or something.
Okay.
And I've been playing for 40, 50 hours, so we'll see.
Now you are going back to it after having played Valhalla or beaten Valhalla, or you haven't played Valhalla? Was that
Never
Dalan?
played it, Valhalla.
Okay, that was
I've just Odyssey's been a recurring sort of backlog. I get back to it when I got time, sort of game.
Because
So
that's
right now
what
I'm in one of those
Assassin's
phases.
Creed is. It's gotten to that point again where you just do it just because you want to kill some time.
Well, I mean,
No, not for me. It's just a
long.
long game, dude. It's just a long game. I don't want to play one game for 100 hours straight, So,
Critical path.
Yeah.
nah.
Now,
I want to enjoy
listen,
my
nah.
time with that.
Now, if you beat Odyssey, the plan is to move on to Valhalla, I'm assuming, or you'll be like
Maybe at some point.
whatever.
I don't know. I mean, they do have that update coming for it soonish, so we'll see. Yeah.
So far, having a good time, enjoying your time in Odyssey, then.
50 hours, man. That's all I got to
Yeah,
say.
okay, all right, pretty good.
Halfway through.
Dalan, what you been playing, man? I know you're getting a little sleepy on a Monday here, case of the Mondays.
I
But,
know, it's just yawning. I'm okay. By the way, I did the math. Thank you very much, sir. 95.6% of the time I've been here.
I did it too. I just didn't say it.
Okay, so 95%, but 97% of the Metroid games have been good. So
No, you can't change the number like that. Shut up, Carlos.
I did the math too on the game.
So,
on all the games.
what I have been playing, and I know we've mentioned it a few times, is the fact that we've rolled into Halo because Halo Infinite's coming out, and we want to be able to get through the games. Halo 1 was, I know you played with me, Carlos, in this instance. Being able to flip between old school graphics and new school graphics is probably one of the most exciting things to be able to do in that game because you get to see what it was like.
And you do it like consistently because it's so quick, right? We do it like throughout any moment in the game. We consistently do it. Like it's always fun to go back and forth.
And every so often you're like, man, those graphics were nasty. What were we thinking back then? And then there are times where we're like, hey man, you gotta put it in old graphics. You can't tell what's going on in the new graphics.
Yeah, and some of it is the lighting, right? Some of it is the lighting, and we're actually like, keep it in old graphics. You can see better. You can kind of see a little bit better where you're going. I do have a beef with you as far as Halo 1. We made it to maybe like the last couple missions. We had one or two missions, and I was like, okay, we'll get around to it at some point. And Dalan said, no. One of my friends came over to the house, and we just beat it without you. So whatever, Dalan, that's cool. But we're in Halo 2 now, right? Which
was a significant upgrade.
Gameplay wise, right? Game design wise, right? It was pretty
Things
nice.
were smooth. They had the new cutscenes.
Dual wielding, the sword. The sword is available in Halo 2.
Hey man, I'm kind of waiting to get through Halo 2 just so I can get to Halo 3 and use that battle axe or whatever the hammer that you can get. I want that hammer, man.
I will say, I think you forgot you were able to use a sword, right? Because we were playing and one of the enemies dropped the sword.
I did not forget.
No, I remember your statement. You're like, wait, Carlos, they just dropped the sword, and I picked it up, and it was like, yes, here it is, here it is. You forgot for a moment while we were playing. It's okay that you forgot for a moment.
Maybe, but I picked up that sword and I remembered how to use that thing immediately.
Oh yeah.
You were like, Dalan, target them in the air or make sure that that center is red. I was like, I know, Carlos, I'm murdering these
I don't know
guys.
if you knew it. That's what I'm saying, because you were so shocked that you could pick up the sword. But
No,
Halo
I
2,
very much remember
the big thing about Halo 2 though is those cutscenes look amazing, dude. Like it's Halo 1 on the Halo 1 remaster, the cutscenes are nice, the new ones. But no, Halo 2 is on a whole different plane of existence of how amazing they look. Even to this day, 2021, November 15th, 16th when this drops, look freaking amazing. And then when you switch over to the old ones, like, wow. This is incredible here.
It's like comparing dirt to daylight. They don't compare very well, but you know that daylight is significant.
That's apples and oranges, man.
So, I mean, it is apples and oranges. But, dude, it's crazy how nice, stupidly nice. And I think I remember Weta or something like that. Like the Peter Jackson guys, I think. Maybe, I'll have to look it up.
Weta Digital?
Weta Digital worked on those cutscenes. Like, that's why they look so incredible. And which recently got bought out, I think, by someone. But that's why they look that incredible, Dalan, is the fact that, and even through the cutscenes, so they on Halo 1 Remastered, they didn't let you switch. Like, once you made a decision if you're going to be in old graphics or new graphics, that's what you were stuck with in the cutscenes. In Halo 2, they let you switch back and forth in the middle of cutscenes. And it's, wow. It's incredibly bad how the graphics do not hold up. But I think it's just a matter of just how amazing of a job they did with those new cutscenes, man.
And I don't know if they're going to do that with 3. I don't know. You think they might do that with 3?
Well, hey, 3 hasn't been remastered, so that
so
2 was the last one.
Gonna be whatever. I'm thinking 3, we're just going to have to deal with that, whatever those graphics are.
Whatever 2007 Halo graphics look like. They probably still look okay, but yeah. Halo 2, oh man, we're going to miss those, Dalan, when we dip into 3. What else you been playing, Dalan?
The last thing that I've actually been playing recently, and I've decided I'm not going back to play the old ones anytime soon. But I did start playing. I started playing. Oh my god, Metroid Dread. I've been into that.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Well, I won't do any spoilers, but based on the previous titles that I've played, and even you had me play it on the Game Boy Advance at your house, I was like, man, this is a huge step up in regards to graphics, and it's still, that 2D side scrolling. They didn't try to do that weird other M thing where they switch to 3D every so often. No, they were just like, I'm on a planet, go do these things, try and find everything, and try not to die. I will say this, though. They make sure, or at least they almost make sure, that you don't get lost. There is a lot of backtracking. They went very Metroid in this, and the loading screen's very frustrating.
So I can kind of dip into sort of some of that because I've been playing Metroid Fusion, and I kind of love that game. I gotta be honest. I kind of really enjoy. Like, it's an enjoyable game to play, animation wise and gameplay wise. But the more I play it, the more I'm kind of like, and I do love, I like my a good amount of signposting, and I don't like to be lost for very long. But as far as a Metroidvania concerned, I think that's part of the appeal, is the fact that you will go, okay, where do I go from now? Metroid Fusion tries to sort of give you that in little micro bites or little bites of it, but it's basically like a computer, like, go here and go there, and we haven't unlocked your suit because you don't have the data for it.
No. They don't even give you all that. You have your map, and if you don't have what you need, you have no idea.
That's the point that I'm saying, is that Metroid Fusion is linearly, as far as like how the series has progressed. So it's Metroid Fusion then Metroid Dread, even though they did 2017's Samus Returns, right? But with Metroid Fusion, I think they went back, where in Metroid Fusion they're like, no, let's tell the player everything, where to go, where the thing is, and some of it I'm kind of like, damn, I kind of don't like that. I kind of don't like that they're giving you too much. So if you want to see the other extreme, Dalan, of telling you exactly where you need to go, is Metroid Fusion. But I still think it's kind of cool. I mean, it is the GBA, so you have a limited controls, right? You only have the A and B button. You have the only 2 shoulder buttons. So,
I was trying to figure that out. I was messing up hard. As soon as you gave me the controls, I had no idea how to
because they kind of combine the super missiles, and they combine the so you don't have to do as much like hand gymnastics to kind of get around to what you need in that game, which I kind of like, but it's really, a lot of it is like the GBA like button limits to it, right? Besides, well, you played something else, Dalan, as well, Lady Super Beam, I suppose.
Oh no, the Lady Super Beam was Metroid.
I really hate you guys do this shit, to be honest. You guys get real wacky in the rundown, and I'm like, okay, I want to know what, because later on I'm going to write it down. I'm like, let me know what the name is. All right, anyway, so Metroid Dread. All right, so the other thing I did play some GTA San Andreas. And I did put, if you guys want to hear kind of more of my thoughts on that, go to was it Reasonably Hyped? So I did talk about a little bit more on there. Right. But and I did talk about Forza Horizon. I haven't gone back to either one of those, so it's kind of like I think GTA is more. I'm waiting for the trophies. I'm waiting for the PlayStation edition of it. So, but San Andreas is pretty cool. I guess it's fine. You know, I did notice that they cleaned up the graphics a little bit. It looks a little bit smoother. But it was a little weird, as I talked about on Reasonably Hyped. But it's that they give you like a performance and like a fidelity mode. And just go performance. Like, don't even do the little fidelity one. It glitches for some reason, but the performance one is like it's like a very smooth, buttery smooth 60 frames. And Forza Horizon, I don't know, Dalan, maybe we get back into it, but I definitely have some fun. I definitely want to do some of those Jeep exploits that we talked about on Reasonably Hyped as well. We got to get down with those and get our own Jeeps, and we can exploit the whole system of it. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. The zinger for this week, Dalan, I put it on here. If you're saying you're still looking for a Series X, right, Dalan? There is a Series X that I'm sure on November 17th you'll want to get. It's a Gucci Xbox Series X for $10,000.
I didn't see you put it way down there. I did not see that.
There's only 100 of them made.
There's only 100 of them units available, Dalan. And please hit them up. And it's also, the fun part is Xbox Game Pass Ultimate included, Dalan. So for your $10,000 you'll get that Game Pass as well. Are you down? How does this look for you?
How much is this thing going for? It's $10,000.
How you feeling about it, Dan? You gonna grab yourself an Xbox Gucci or what?
I feel like if I had the money, I'd buy it just to break it.
That's weird. That's
okay. I'm mad at them just for making it that price and just turning it into Gucci. That's
they'd still get your money, right?
I mean, they still
they still get my money. I know.
Lace, how you feel about the Xbox Gucci, dude?
Whatever, man. I guess it's a status symbol or whatever. Good for those people that feel like dropping 10K on it. Whatever.
It's weird, right? And I mean, they do wacky stuff like this from time to time. Even the PlayStation one had like a wacky like gold plated version of it, right? Or silver plated or something
this
like
red
that.
And blue strip. I don't understand this red and blue
strip.
Hey,
describe it to the people, Dan, before we leave them for the week. Describe this Gucci thing, because that case comes with it. It's an Xbox.
Hey, man. It looks like a 1940s suitcase with gold trimming and the actual Gucci symbols, just like the face and side of it. You got a gold handle and gold tags. And right down the center, underneath the handle, you got these red and blue strips sitting right next to each other like racing lines down the side of the bag. I'm like, why are these here? The same thing goes for the controllers. It's just over the joystick and the D-pad. You got a red and blue line there, and the rest of the controller is black.
What about the console itself?
Lazy with that.
What about the console?
The console looks like an eyesore. It's just the Gucci like what is it? The
Insignia
Gucci pattern
or logo or whatever. Yeah, the pattern.
It's the pattern. Yeah. It's on the entire face of the Xbox Series X. And don't get me wrong, actually, that part doesn't look too bad. Okay. But
you just said it looked ugly.
Yeah, you said it looked ugly.
Okay, so I'm correcting myself on that. That part doesn't look too bad. But the rest of it, the suitcase, the controllers are bland. The suitcase is definitely ugly. Xbox, not so bad. Only because if you didn't know who Gucci was, it doesn't look bad.
Okay. Damn, the only response to that is like, you don't know style, man. You just don't know style.
No, I don't care for Gucci as much as everybody else. Obviously, there's the whole Gucci movie that's coming out. Go watch that and see how terrible those people are. But I'm fine with it. I'm not going to buy it.
Anyways, if you guys want to, that's probably the easiest Xbox you could probably get if you got $10,000 lying around.
If you got just to float out there.
They're going to be in stores. New York, Beverly Hills, Mexico City, Milan, London, Berlin, Beijing, Tokyo. They Look for your local store and grab a $10,000 version.
Is it Rodeo or Rodeo?
Rodeo Drive, I believe. I think. Or you can say however you want, Dalan. What do you mean? If you got Rodeo. $10K to spend on this Xbox, you can say however you want. They still call you.
Okay.
I don't know if you don't watch basketball, Dalan, but that's my favorite thing that Barkley says. He's like, they still call me sir when I walk into the bank. They still call me sir as soon as I walk in there. But anyways, that's been an episode of Salient Points. Salient Points. Oh damn! Hey, we getting too many episodes. Too much. Go to We Got Comps to check out this Salient Points. All the episodes for Salient Points. We're on episode 46. And I'm Carlos Macias, your ceremony of ceremonies, Dalan, or commander of ceremonies. And Luis Mendez on the wheels of steel, as per usual, at a probably 99% hit rate. Thank you for joining us, sir, from DTLA. And Dalan, as we recently found out, 95% hit rate. Dalan, thank you for joining us again. Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains.
I feel like you gave me a lower percentage than Luis when he wasn't there for the beginning of our start.
Yeah,
he didn't start with us.
Yeah, but he hadn't been initiated. You can't blame him
for
so not.
You've been here for 99% of your time here on the show, Luis, and we still appreciate you being here and working so hard on doing all the audio edit. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give a shout out to you on that one.
I appreciate it.
Why are you hitting him up though? Let's leave him alone.
I'm not hitting him up. I'm giving him praise, Carlos. You shut up. I'm hitting you.
See you guys next week before this thing completely goes off the rails. See you guys next week. Go to wegotcoms.com. Like, subscribe, all that cool, fun stuff.
Burn it down.
Oh, wow. Burn it down. Oh, it's Sackboy. There he is.